Welcome to a brand new episode of Teachers Glasses presents Bollywood TALKies with Outlook. I am your host, Mitrajit Bhattacharya, and my guest tonight is a movie actor who makes her women-centric movies leave a big impact with the critics as well as create magic at the box office. A recipient of Padma Shri, a national award, and 6 Filmfare Awards, Vidya Balan, welcome to Teachers Glasses presents Bollywood TALKies with Outlook.
Thank you, Mitrajit.
Congratulations on 15 glorious years in Hindi movies. How does it feel to look back at this journey?
Thank you. It feels wonderful, actually. At some level, it feels unbelievable when you say 15 years. And yet, on the other hand, I feel like, wow, of course, 15 years, One has done so much work in these years, had so many releases. So obviously, it's 15 years. But in a lot of ways, I still feel like, I'm new to all this. I won't say that I feel like a newcomer, but, there are still things that I'm learning. There are still things that I discover about myself, about films. And I'm like, there's so much more to do. So 15 years feels like long enough, but not long enough.
Congratulations once again on your fabulous performance in and as Shakuntala Devi.
Thank you.
Not the first biopic for you, but since they are always open to scrutiny, what were the challenges and how did you prepare for the role?
It's always challenging when you're playing a real person, because when you're playing a fictional character, a lot of imagination comes into play. But when it's a real person, people can actually reference it. They don't know that person, well enough. There's still video references that people can fall back on, or, just visual references, pictures. And today with YouTube being what it is, or people can just Google the person. So I think it's quite challenging. But therefore, I think early on, especially during the Dirty Picture, is when I realized that, it would be impossible to impersonate the other person.
That's right.
The person you are portraying on screen. So best is to try and capture the essence of the person. So, and then of course, post the Dirty Picture, I've also done No One Killed Jessica, which was about a real person, though it wasn't a biopic
Right.
in any sense. Also, I've done 2 biopics down south, which was
right.
Telugu, the NTR biopics, where I played NTR's wife. So I think, this is a thing that I have learned, that you can't possibly, you obviously don't want to mimic the person. That will become caricaturish. So try and capture the spirit of the person. And that's what I've tried to do.
Is it more difficult to play a character who's from recent past than someone who's in the history books?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I think, yeah, maybe. Because, like I said, there are no visual references for someone who's a historical character. But when we're talking about a Shakuntala Devi, for example, the moment people heard I'm playing this woman, they started Googling her. Googling images, then videos showed up. So, and a lot of people have done that after watching the film. So obviously, and then I've been getting messages from people saying, oh my God, you picked up her mannerisms very well. Of course, people who knew her, because lots of people have had interacted with her. I'm quite amazed by the number of people who told me that they've come to her school for match shows, or that they've seen her perform at, Shanmukhananda Hall or some such place, or just, gone to her for astrological consultations. So it almost feels like every second person has met her. So yes, I think it's more challenging when it's a person from the recent past.
Any genuine moment from the movie that has stayed with you?
Lots, when you see, for me, what fascinates me most is, of course, the genius, but the person within the genius. Because normally the world tends to focus on the genius, right? That's the extent of our knowledge about anyone who's a public figure. And then about a mathematical genius, because mathematics is a subject that lots of people are afraid of. It almost seems like that must be an otherworldly person. So you have a certain perception of that person being maybe very reticent and very reclusive and maybe not very flamboyant. You don't associate those things with a genius, and that were mathematical genius. So, there were lots of points in the film, firstly in the script, that were revelations to me. And then, as I started playing her, I realized that playing her was like literally like, or knowing her was like peeling an onion. Every layer revealed another beneath. So I think there were lots of those moments where I felt like, wow, she's a living, breathing human being who feels hurt and who feels angry and who can be aggressive and possessive and unreasonable and loving and all those things.
You were so authentic in your debut movie in Hindi, Parinita, that many mistook you initially as a Bengali. How was working with Vidhu Vinod Chopra, Pradeep Sarkar and Saif Ali Khan? How did you bag the role of Parinita and the news of bagging the role?
I was obviously doing ad films.
That's right.
And that's how I met Pradeep Sarkar Dada for the first time. And then I got called for an audition to his office for a music video, which also I ended up doing, which was Euphoria's Kabhi Aana Tu Meri Gali. And I did that. At the end of my shoot, Dada called out to me. It was a night shoot. At the end of the shoot, at the end of the night, he said, "Hey, ladki, main tere saath picture banaunga." And I was like, yeah, right. I didn't think that meant anything. But God bless him, he really meant what he said. And, he started, as luck would have it also, I ended up doing a lot of ads with Dada. So,
right.
He started teaching me things. He started mentoring me in a way. In preparation for Parinita, we didn't even know of Parinita. He was writing another script at that time, which he wanted to make with me. And then, of course, Parinita happened. Then Vinod Chopra happened. And Vinod Chopra had his reservations about casting me in the film because it was an expensive film and it was an author-backed role. It was a title role, Parinita. So he wanted a big star. But Dada was very keen to have me play Lolita. So I was auditioned a whole lot of times. After a while, I didn't understand what they were auditioning. It seemed to keep, there was never, I didn't know what was I guess because I was so keen to know whether I'd made it or not. There was some very frustrating moments. But I remember I was at an Enrique Iglesias concert at MMRDA with a friend who used to work with Dada. And both of us had gone for the concert, and I told him, I said, I'm a huge Enrique fan. So I told him, listen, we'll somehow go up to stage and you have to carry me so that I can touch Enrique's hand at least. And, of course, I have fantasies that he'll probably pull me up on stage or something like that. Stupid fantasies. But I just about reached the stage, and there was a call on Pavitra's, my friend's phone from Dada, because Dada had been trying to reach me and couldn't reach me. So Pavitra handed me the phone and I said, not now. Dada said, just speak to Vinod Chopra. And I was like, if he's going to tell me that, this hasn't worked out this time, why should I get out of the concert? So I said, Mr. Chopra, can I call you later? He said, no. I said, I'm at a concert, there are 20,000 people and I'm right at the top. I'm near the stage. He said, it's okay, I'll wait. However long it takes, you'll walk out of that place right now. And I was like, okay. So, I was irritated because I'd been put through so many tests. Today I know that it's fully justified, but at that time I think I was like, I thought he was going to say, it's not going to work. It's not working out. So very grudgingly I went right up to the gate and I said, yes, Mr. Chopra. And he said, you are my Parinita. And oh my God, I just stood there and I cried. Hero was playing in the background. And I remember my friend thought I didn't make it because I was crying and he was like, calm down. But finally I hung up and I said, I got it. As a matter of fact, it's become a problem for now. We shot together just a few days ago and we were reliving these memories,
So did you figure out what they were looking for in those multiple auditions they were doing with you? Did you ever talk to him later?
Yeah, he told me that जैसे हीरे को तराशते हैं, that's you polish a diamond. That's what he was doing. He said he always knew I had talent, but he needed to prepare me to be Parinita.
Though you had a string of early successes, the golden phase of your career came between 2009 and 2012, when you delivered 5 consecutive mega hits, quite unheard of from a leading lady those days. What were the challenges and joy of playing such diverse characters in Pa, Ishqiya, No One Killed Jessica, The Dirty Picture, and Kahani?
At that time, obviously, I don't think I took it seriously. I feel I was just going from one film to the other. I was excited by the variety of roles that were being offered. I liked the filmmakers I was going to work with. So I was giving it my all, and I didn't. And then every film was succeeding critically, commercially, and then there were, tags being attributed to me for Khan and whatnot. And when all that happened, especially after The Dirty Picture, I was like, wow, what just happened? So I don't think I was aware of what was happening. I was just making choices and going ahead with them very instinctively. The so-called golden period happened, but I believe that there will be other golden periods also. Maybe platinum, who knows?
Absolutely. But what stands out in that phase was just the diversity of roles which you played. So talk a bit about those characters if you can, and how were you preparing for them?
Obviously, we had all heard about the Jessica Lal murder. When Rajkumar Gupta came to me, I was like, wow, you're wanting me to play a real person. So I said, okay, once I'd committed to the film, I said, can I meet Sabrina Lal? And I remember Rajkumar Gupta telling me, no, I don't want you to meet Sabrina Lal. And I was a bit stumped. I was like, why? He said, because I want you to be the Sabrina Lal from 11 years ago. Today, Sabrina Lal has gone through that experience. She's a different person. She's been hardened by what she's gone through. I want you to imagine what it must have been like for a person who was untouched by the troubles of life. So I remember I enjoyed that experience. I didn't have too many dialogues. It was a very withdrawn character. And then on the other hand, I had Ishqiya, where she was fully in command of her sexuality. She was playing these two men. She knew fully well that she wanted to get to her husband. And I loved that. It was the first time I was getting a role like that. I was playing Amitabh Bachchan's mother, and it was like mind-boggling to start with. But the experience was, I remember for the first time, I felt maternal during that film, and I realized, I do have a maternal bone in me. It was a beautiful experience. As an actor, I think at that phase, I didn't think too much about what I was doing. Like I said, I was just submitting to what I was doing, and it happened beautifully. Like The Dirty Picture was the other end of the spectrum. She felt like her body was the only tool she had at her disposal to get ahead in life, and she used it brazenly. And I have to say, The Dirty Picture liberated me in a lot of ways, made me comfortable with my own body. Then came Kahani, which was again, where I had to walk around with a baby bump throughout the film, only for that explosive climax. And I thought that was one of the smartest, I still think that's one of the smartest scripts that I've ever read. It was just, from the word go, it grabbed you, and you couldn't have ever guessed that this is what is going to happen. Sujoy Ghosh is brilliant.
So just a line on each of these absolutely fabulous filmmakers of these 5, and who are completely different from each other. So if you could just tell us a bit about each of them, from Rajkumar Gupta to all of them. Balki.
I think they're all, like you rightly said, they're all very unique and distinctive in their telling of a story. They're also all writer-directors. So, Balki is someone who has such a casual approach to life that reflects in whatever he writes, in the conversations the characters have on screen. I enjoy that. When you read Balki's script, you never feel like someone's actually mouthing a dialogue. It all seems very natural. I remember the first day of shoot on Pa. We spent an entire day only because we didn't shoot the first day. The cinematographer, P.C. Sriram, needed to get proportions right because, with all the prosthetics. Mr. Bachchan's head tended to look slightly bigger than the body, but it should have looked bigger than the body because he's playing a younger boy. So those proportions he had to get correct. So I remember that first day gave me a sense of the character, because only when you start playing a person do you actually know, where you stand vis-a-vis that person. And I remember the first day, the first scene, by lunchtime, I felt like, okay, now I know who Vidya. Abhishek Chaubey is probably the quietest ever director. But at that time, we didn't have, it was just the beginning of that romance with the Central India, the Hindi belt.
Hinterland, the Hindi heartland.
Yeah, Hindi heartland. So I remember being so fascinated by that world, and by the fact that it was a realization that I had that women from that world are actually, they have this smoldering quality to them. I'm not talking about actors, or I'm talking about regular people, outside of films. They have a lot of strength. They're very almost self-assured women. So I remember that being completely, and he was a very patient director, because I would go into giggling fits. I remember I did so many takes of that one scene where I had to suck on Arshad's thumb, and I thought I couldn't stop laughing, but he was really patient with me. He's a very well-mannered, very polite person with everyone on the team. Sujoy is absolutely mad. Sujoy and I, either we really get along or we really don't get along. But that, I think, is what makes it work for us. We work very well together. I'll always be grateful to him for the fact that he involved me in the process of writing. Not that I was writing, but everything that he wrote, he shared with me on a day-to-day basis, which is why I think I got a hang of the character even before I reached set. It's one of those films. And he's extremely observant. The way he observes things, I find what a sharp mind. It's incredible. It's so easy not to take Sujoy seriously, to think that he's frivolous because he's funny all the time. He doesn't take himself seriously, but actually when you see how intelligent he is, you realize, oh my God, that mind is something else altogether. Rajkumar Gupta, I think no one makes thrillers better than him. The pace, the drama, everything is so taut. But what clinched the deal for me was that scene in No One Killed Jessica, where Sabrina is in court and there's an argument going on, and someone says, "Main chhat pe tha, main chhat pe tha, main chhat pe tha," in response to everything that the lawyer asked him. So finally the lawyer says, "Are kitni der se chhat pe ho, niche aa jao," and Sabrina laughs, even though this case, it's her sister's murder that is being, the proceedings. How do I say this? It's her sister's case that's in progress, and yet she laughs. It was such a novel thing, to find humor in such a serious situation. So I think it was, I was sold on him at that very moment, and then working with him was amazing. About Milan Luthria, I think Milan Luthria, the only reason I could perform with abandon in that film is because I knew that I was in safe hands. I felt safe because this could have gone either way. But with Milan Luthria on the Dirty Picture, not once did I feel like, oh my God, is it going to be sleazy? Am I going to be portrayed wrongly? Is it going to look cheap? None of the sort. And Milan has this beautiful, he understands pain very beautifully. I remember pain, rejection, all that. The way he processes it is just something else. And of course, I have to, every time I mention the Dirty Picture, I always mention Bobby Singh, the cinematographer, who's no longer with us. But I think I used to keep telling Bobby that he'd crack such bad jokes on set that I tell him that, this is why I don't think I'm doing the dirty picture because your jokes are so dirty. But what a wonderful man with Milan and Bobby on set. There was nothing to worry about.
It was also the film you picked up your national award for. So would you
Yes.
like to tell what was the experience? How did you receive the call? How did you get to know about the fact
You
that
know,
you just...
I was actually in Dubai.
Okay.
I was just stepping out of the room for a press conference because Kahani was releasing 2 days, no, the very next day.
Okay.
So it was a Kahani press conference, and suddenly I get a call and from Milan, and he said, you know, you got the National Award for Best Actor. I was just like, you know, there was no time to process anything. I had to step out right then, but I wanted to do a little dance. Then, of course, I remember I called up Ekta, I called up my family, and they were all quick calls, and I was getting delayed for, I don't think there was time to process it. But maybe, yeah, I don't think I could savor that moment, you know. But having said that, it couldn't have been better timed. And so special for to receive the award for the dirty picture, which normally wouldn't have been a choice for the national awards. And the citation will always remain very, very special to me.
You made a huge comeback in 2017 with Tumari Sulu, yet another powerhouse performance in a woman-centric film. How was it playing Sulu? Producer Atul Kasbekar, who was earlier on this show, had talked about having no plan B for Sulu other than plan B being Balan.
Suresh Triveni, the writer-director, came to me with a one line. He'd actually offered me another film and he wasn't happy with the way the script was coming along. So by the by, he just said, I have another story idea. And I said, wow, this sounds very exciting. Why don't you write this? So he wrote it. And, I was thrilled with the way it shaped up. And also because I think Sulu and I share a lot of similarities. She's probably the character I feel closest to in person. So much enthusiasm, so much joie de vivre. She's just so full of life. I love that. And I enjoyed playing that. Working with Suresh Triveni again was a remarkable experience. His understanding of human frailties is very, very intimate, and that's what reflects in his writing. And I thought there were so many moments in that film where I felt that, oh, this could be happening to me or to anyone I know. The way it was written and the way it was shot. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't have a plan B.
You seem to have a special bond with radio, from reel to real. Do you enjoy playing a RJ?
Yeah, I actually also did a radio show last year called Dhun Badal Ke To Dekho. Not really, I remember when I was prepping for Lage Raho Munna Bhai, I visited quite a few radio stations and I marveled at how easily they spoke into the mic extempore and, in a way that made listeners feel like they knew them personally. I thought that was such a good quality when you can't look into someone's eyes and, really sense their feelings. It's all about the voice. And then, of course, Lage Raho Munna Bhai happened, and to date, in so many places, people ask me to do the Good Morning Mumbai. If I'm in another city, they'll say Good Morning Kolkata or whatever. But I think it was amazing. It was also the film on which I worked with. My favorite is Sanjay Dutt. To me, he'll always be the biggest superstar I've ever worked with. So lovely a person. So yeah, that was very special. But Sulu happened, then people started telling me after Lage Raho Munna Bhai, you have such a great voice, you should do a radio show and all that. I never took anyone seriously. But then I played Sulu, which was the absolute opposite. So Janvi did the morning show, Sulu did the late night show. And there were two ends of the spectrum, so to speak. But I don't know, it wasn't planned, it just happened. I think it's a very powerful medium though.
A line or two on the experience of working with Sanjay Dutt. You spoke a bit about him. You have worked with him in multiple movies, Nasir Saab and Raju Hirani.
Raju Hirani, my God, you know, the way he can say big things in such a simple way, in such a relatable way, in such a humorous way, I find that absolutely amazing. I think his films are really uplifting. They make you feel good about life. I love that. Nasir Saab. I am so fortunate to have worked with him in 3 films and, you know, inhabiting 3 different disparate worlds. I used to be very nervous around him because, you know, I heard that he had a temper and stuff, but he was so indulgent of me on Ishqiya. He would call me Miss Giggles because, like I told you, I would, you know, have giggling fits. And he's Nasiruddin Shah, you know. He makes everything look easy. I just watched him in this show on Amazon Prime called Bandish Bandits. And my God, you know, it was such joy to watch him. There's still so much, the little things that he does. It's like, my God, how does he do it? Love him.
And a line more on Sanjay Dutt. Having worked with him in Parinita, having worked with him in Munna Bhai.
Yeah, you know, he's just, like I said, he's the kindest co-actor I know. And I really wish him well. And my prayers are with him and his family. And I know he's going to come out of this too, like he has fought many battles in the past and has, you know, always emerged triumphant. He's very, very special to me. For me, he'll always be the biggest superstar because he was the first superstar I worked with, and yet he was so humble, so kind, so generous. I remember we had a lovemaking scene in Parinita and I was very nervous. It was my first. You know, I didn't know the workings of such scenes. Right. And I remember he told me, he said, I'm really nervous. And I don't think he was nervous. But you know, when he told me that he was nervous, I suddenly began to feel better. Because I was like, if Sanjay Dutt can feel nervous, it's okay. That's the beautiful heart of the man, you know, without making a big deal of it. He just does little things that touch people's hearts.
The toughest and the most satisfying roles in your career?
That's an unfair question. Because there are so many, you know. But
pick out one which was really tough for you to portray on screen and the one which is most satisfying.
The Dirty Picture, because it was very different from, Silk was very different from who I was or I am. So to have that kind of brazenness, I think was very tough. But that's her gift to me. She made me brazen through the film. And then Shakuntala Devi. I think if Silk was, I think Silk was about the body. Shakuntala Devi is about the mind. So, what a mind. And yet, I think she's the most complicated, complex character I've ever played. Because she was not just one thing. She was very difficult to decode, decipher. Because also she broke so many norms. So she didn't fit into the stereotypical definitions of women the way we'd always known them as, you know, either the Sati Savitri or the Van. She was different things at different points. I think most challenging and satisfying, also maybe because most recent would be Shakuntala Devi.
Are you a spontaneous actor or a method actor?
I don't know method acting, Mitrajit. I'm not a trained actor, but I guess I have my own process now developed over the years. You know, like I spend a lot of time with my directors. I tend to ask them questions just to familiarize myself with the character and her world. But I'm not a method actor.
What has been the biggest high in your professional career?
I think nothing to beat Parinita, because that was where it all started. So, you know, and what a high. I didn't know that this life awaited me. a life where I would be living my dream of being an actor every single day.
Any regrets?
None whatsoever.
Favorite actor, director, movie?
From India?
Anywhere.
Lots of performances I have liked of various actors over time. But I think favorite director would have to be Woody Allen. I absolutely love all his films. Favorite actor, I loved Robin Williams, Amitabh Bachchan, Nasiruddin Shah, Shabana Azmi, Rekha, Tabu, Jaya Bachchan. Oh my God, of course, Sridevi. Sridevi is the ultimate for me. There was nothing she couldn't do and wouldn't do without conviction, just incredible. Kamal Hassan, Mohanlal, just way too many. Yeah.
Are you liking the way the OTT content space is developing? And do we see you more in web series anytime soon?
I don't think anytime soon, but I think I'm, quite excited by the kind of content that's being put out currently. Like I told you about Bandish Bandits, which is my latest favorite, and before that it was Patal Lok. So I think I am loving this, and I definitely like to explore it. But when I find the right kind of story to tell, I think it's great. The OTT platforms really offer you yet another avenue to tell stories, especially in the long format and with maybe edgier treatments. And just the telling is a lot more experimentative. I think it's an exciting time.
Any advice to newcomers, particularly women who have joined the industry, on how to handle the pressure of the industry, particularly in the early stages of their careers?
One, I think just follow your heart, follow your dream. There are no rules. Please remember that. Just because someone else found success following a certain path, it does not assure you of success. You can create your own path. I really believe that a lot of girls recently especially have been asking me, how do we keep ourselves safe? And I always feel that when you feel unsafe, then remember that is never going to materialize into an opportunity. So walk away from it. And when you value yourself and walk away from it, better opportunities will show up. So don't lose heart. And you're not a failure because of a failure. Sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to, but that's absolutely okay. That does not change who you are or your worth.
What does feminism stand for you?
Value for oneself. Knowing that, God created all his children equally. So I think men and women have equal rights in every way. I don't know, my definition of feminism keeps changing and evolving.
So what's next from Vidya Balan? Sherni has a new date announced.
New date?
That's what we heard and seen in the papers, that you have a new date for shoot for Sherni.
No, we are hoping, fingers crossed, to resume shoot after the rains. But I don't think there's a date yet. We're all working towards that, and if all goes well, then we will be able to resume post the rains.
How much is left of Sherni to shoot?
I think almost 70%. At least 65-70%. We finished one small schedule. So we have a long way to go.
Have you given a nod to anything else? Like, are you doing the Indira Gandhi biopic? Is there anything else?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't know what's happening on the Indira Gandhi biopic, but I hope it happens someday, and that's all I can say at this point, because it is a dream. So let's hope it materializes. But I'm in the process of reading scripts at the moment, so maybe in a few weeks from now, I'll know what I'm doing next.
Your love affair with advertising started even before your movie career, and you continue to be the face of many brands even today. Do you enjoy this shorter format of storytelling? And
Oh,
any
yes.
favorite ad or ads over the years? Any favorite ad or ads over the years?
I find it amazing that sometimes such beautiful stories are said in just 30 seconds. Like I did a bike ad years ago when I was all of 19, which had a beautiful storyline, which was about, this wife and son waiting for the husband and father to return from the army for a break. And he comes back and everyone's overjoyed. We're having dinner and suddenly all army personnel are called back to the front.
Do you remember the brand?
Of course I do. It was Bajaj Caliber.
Right.
And I thought that was such a beautiful ad. I love it when ads go beyond selling and tell stories. There are, I remember this, so many jingles, especially as kids, because at that time there weren't too many ads around. So I remember Seema bulbs or tubes. That jingle is still stuck in my head. जब मैं छोटा लड़का था बड़ी शरारत करता था. So many. But in recent times, I think I watched a Google ad, which was the India-Pakistan ad about two friends reuniting, which was such a lovely ad.
That was done by Amit Sharma, who has done Badhai Ho.
Yeah. That's right. But I haven't been watching, I don't watch television, so I don't watch too many ads anymore.
Who have been your biggest inspirations in your life?
My sister, her name's Priya. She's 4 years older. She's always been my hero. I've admired many things about her and continue to. So I think, but also anyone who's leading their lives on their own terms.
We want just one word answers. We have come to the end of the interview.
Yeah.
A director you would love to work with?
Woody Allen.
Favorite holiday destination?
Italy, Japan.
Places on your bucket list?
Oh my God, way too many. I want to travel a lot within India also. I really want to go to Arunachal. I've never been.
A Vidya Balan biopic will be titled ...
I don't know what it will be titled, but maybe only one of her.
Thank you, Vidya Balan, for talking to me in Teachers Glasses Presents Bollywood Talkies with Outlook. Stay safe, enjoy the success of your new release, and see you on the other side of the break.
Thank you, Mitrajit. Thank you very much. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
It's always challenging when you're playing a real person, because when you're playing a fictional character, a lot of imagination comes into play. But when it's a real person, people can actually reference it. They don't know that person, well enough. There's still video references that people can fall back on, or, just visual references, pictures. And today with YouTube being what it is, or people can just Google the person. So I think it's quite challenging. But therefore, I think early on, especially during the Dirty Picture, is when I realized that, it would be impossible to impersonate the other person.
That's right.
The person you are portraying on screen. So best is to try and capture the essence of the person.